Hi everyone. In this video, what we're going to show you is how do you create zones and how would you delegate the zone here. Now I've just taken one scenario from your case study and which shows you, like, say for example you have one head office in say London branch, and then you have two another sub branches in somewhere else, say for example one in Manchester and the other one in Cardiff. Now so say for example, if any response comes up for creative.com, is going to be dealt by this server. Now you have created now you're going to create some subzones, for example sales.creative.com and marketing.creative.com. So say for example you have two branches and you have another server here, you have another server here, and this branch is dealing with sales. So all the information, all the resources regarding your sales is in this server. And you want that any request which comes to this server and requesting for information on sales should be redirected to this server. Or if any any request comes which need resources dealing with marketing, so it should be redirected to this marketing.creative.com. So now in order to create this or this scenario, the response should automatically come to this one if it comes for sales.creative.com. If response is coming for marketing.creative.com, it should automatically directed to this server from the main server. So to deal this and to make this in the real implementation manner, what we have to do is we have to create one main zone in your main server. Now for this, in order to show you in a real practical, to show you in a full practical way, what we have done is we have one main server ready, which is called just server, and it's going to be the main head office one. So, and there's another server which is called server 2, which is running along with it, but you have to consider this is your another branch office. Now according to the picture, so you think that this is your main server and the IP address is 192.168.1.254, and we're going to create a zone creative.com in this main server. Now the other server which I showed you, which is server 2, is going to, it says in some other branch, and in that one I'm going to create subzone as sales.creative.com. Now for this video, I'm just going to show you creating one zone in the main server and another subzone in another server, and in a similar pattern you can do for the third one yourself. So in this video, we're just going to show you the main zone, how to create a main zone here, and how to create one subzone, and how would you delegate the zone here. So let's start with the practical video here. Again, before we start, you need to understand that my main video, the main server which is there, I have given an IP address as 192.168.1.254, and the other server 2 which I have taken up in this video, which you can see from here, that is server 2. I have given this IP address as 192.168.1.253. Now they are all in the same network, but naturally in a real world they are not going to be in the same network. It's just for demonstration. In the virtual box we have taken this kind of IP addresses, but in the real world they might be in different network, this might be in a different network. So just to make in a simple way, let's to do a connection in a simpler way without any difficulty, we have taken in all in a same network. So first what thing we're going to do is we're going to create a main zone creative.com in the main server, and for this make sure that you have installed ADDS DNS in this one. So you need to have ADDS DNS, or in other words you can mean to say that is the main server where you have created your main domain there, you have a main domain there. So this is going to be the main one, and I have another, you need to have another server where we are going to create a subzone, and for this we don't need any ADDS or We don't need to create any domain. What we just need to do is we just need to install a DNS in this server. The reason is why we need to create only DNS, because we just need to create a subzone. So that's why we just need to create just need to install one DNS. So let's do one thing. Let's start preparing. Like, I have the main server where in which ADDS DNS is being loaded here. Now for this one, where we just need only DNS. So here's the server. Let me enter the password. So if I can show you the initial configuration video, you can see the IP address is 192.168.253. It might differ from your one. So in your server, if it's like you have set it up as whatever IP address, just remember that. But just to show you that we have not added any roles here. So what we need to do is we need to add a role that is what we said as only DNS for this secondary branch where we are going to create subzone here. Now let's add the roles here. Add roles. When you go to the server roles, as you have already done it, go for DNS and install DNS. Next. So just remember, going back here, if you're just installing DNS, they won't give you any problem for installing DNS and you can do it. But if you have installed ADDS and then if you want to install DNS, you can't go by this way. What you have to do is you need to go a start and you need to type DC promo, and then you need to run this in order to install DNS or to create any domain. But if you just want to install DNS, you can go in this way. Just click on it, say next, next, install, and that's it. You don't have to do any more setting. So once we completed, we told you that this server will be ready with this IP address and DNS isn't being installed here. So what we're going to do in this one is, once this finishes off, we're going to start from the main server and we're going to create one main zone called creative.com. So let's create a main zone in the main server. So there you go, it's finished up. So we can close it and you can minimize it. So this server is ready. So let's keep it aside. Let's come to the main server, and as decided, we're going to do what? Like, we're going to create a main zone called creative.com. So once we come here, what you need to do is go to start, go to administrative tools, go to DNS, because we're going to create a zone and zone will be created under DNS. So when you go into DNS, you can see there will be something called forward lookup zone, reverse lookup zone, conditional forwarders. So in the forward lookup zone, okay, so you don't need to expand it even, but even the forward look, just select it and right click on it and say new zone. So once they said new zone, say next. You're going to create a primary zone. Okay, now you can read it. What is secondary zone? What is stub zone? So if you want to make a copy, naturally then you're going to say secondary, but we are not making any copy, so we're going to go for primary zone. And note this point here, they will give you options. Store the zone in Active Directory only if your server has ADDS also installed in it. Like for example, in my another server, I don't have any ADDS here. We just have DNS. So this option, you know, when we create zone, another zone, subzone here in this server, you won't get this option because there is no ADDS here. So there's nothing to worry about. You just need to know why they're giving me an option here. So just go for next. And they said how you want zone to be replicated. So you say to all the DNS server in your domain, whatever might be your domain. So your domain name will be different. So anyhow, you go for this option. So next, here they're asking you what is the name of the zone. So here what we thought is, what we planned is, according to the diagram, we're planning that in the main head office, we're going to create a main zone called creative.com. Okay, I'm just going to show you again. We're going to create a main zone called creative.com, and in the other one, in the other sub branch, we're going to create a subzone as sales.creative.com. So let's come back, creative.com, say next, and they will give you how you want the updates actually with respect to this DNS zone. So again, something to be noted out, if you have an Active Directory installed on the server, they will allow you for secure updates. If you don't have ADDS, for example, as I said earlier, that in this server I don't have ADDS, so if I do the same thing there, they won't be giving me this option there. So they will be giving me do not allow dynamic updates, because dynamic updates, secure dynamic updates is only possible if you have a ADDS. Right, so when we come up here, just say next, and that's it, finish. So your zone is being created here. You can see here, from here, zone is created. So click here. So once you click here, they show you something called start of authority, name server. So this too is done. But now zone is not completed unless you create two more file here. Now what are those things? Two more entity, I mean to say. So two more entity will be is, one is called, when you do right click, you need to create new host here, and you need to create new alias here. So two things you need to create in order to make this zone complete. If you don't do that one, the zone won't be working. So once you created this, if you have these two files, meaning your zone is not complete, it won't work. So to make it work, you need to create, right click here and say new host. So they're asking you what is the name of the host, use parent domain if it blanks. So what you do is, for time being, just leave it, give the IP address. So you need to give an IP address of the server where you have created this zone, this server. And as we planned, according to my server, this main server IP address I've given as 254. So make sure you check it, what is the IP address of your server. For example, here is my initial configuration window, and you can see my IP addresses 192.168.254. So I'm going to give us 192.168.1.254, and just leave it blank for this one for time being, and just say add host. So they said the host has been added successfully. Say OK, say done, and this is done. Now what we said is that one more thing we need to know after the host is right click again, and you need to create alias. So remember, you need to create first host and then alias, not alias then host. So let's go for now, right click here and let's create new alias. And what you need to do is just write www here. And they said what is the fully qualified domain name. Now your fully qualified domain name is just needed to refer your server name dot your domain name. But the best thing for you, in order not to make mistake, is go to this way, go to browse, click on the server, go to forward zone, go to the zone which you created, and then you go inside and click the one which says host. So once you create it, they give you a correct fully qualified domain name. So it's called fully qualified domain name. So fully qualified domain name, I think, yeah, that's right, it's just comes creative.com. So I repeat again, instead of type, the fully qualified name will be, I think, only your this part. So it's better to go from this way, browse, server, forward, your zone, and then create and select the host part. So once you've done it, say OK, and your alias is created up. So this is how you create a complete zone. Remember, 4 entity will be there. So 2 by default will come up, and 2 you need to create. One is host and one is alias. If you have, we'll do the same thing in another server, so you can recap there. And after this, we need to test this zone, whether this zone is working or not. How would you check this zone is working? Minimize it, come to start your command prompt, and in this one you need to write ping and the zone name. So www.creative.com, and if you ping it, you see you're getting a reply from that zone, which means the zone is created and is working. So there you go, the zone is confirmed created. So we created, according to the diagram here, we created this zone, and now we are going to create another zone, subzone, as sales.creative.com in another server, which is going to be this one. So similar the way we have created creative.com in the main server, we're going to create sales.creative.com in this server. So watch the part 2 of this video in order to create this subzone, and then we're going to delegate the zone to show you that if any response come to for creative, it will be dealt with this server, and if any response comes for sales.creative.com, the response is going to come into the main head server, but is going to be transferred to this server. So, and this is just done in order to manage with the load balancing, okay, and not to put all the stress into the main server. So watch out the next part of the video in order to create how to create this subzone and how to delegate it.